Any kind of the traditional brick and mortar businesses, there's stuff breaking and there's tons of metal in those businesses. Go seek them out. All right, so today we're doing a little mobile welding job. Don't have the craziest setup here. We got the generator in the car, and gonna throw in a welder and just a box of tools, and I'll show you. We'll get to the job. It's just 2 quick welds. Hopefully it goes well. It's not the most ideal setup. I used to have a welder generator, but I really try not to book this mobile work. This was when I was doing mobile work. This customer had done this job before and they wanted an additional one, so that's where I'm going to now, and might be my last mobile job ever, and then really just want to focus on the shop work. So we'll load up the car and get on site.
All right, so I'm just loading up the car. This is a Hyundai Accent, for anybody wondering. Just goes to show what you can get done with even a compact car. I'm gonna jump in the car and drive to the site, and I'll have one of those car discussions. So if you just want to skip right ahead to the work, that's gonna start at about 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Otherwise, I'll break down a little bit of the job, a little bit of the discussion around why and how I'm doing this mobile work, and stick around for that if you want. Otherwise, enjoy the video, guys. Let's get into it.
I really have made it a point to step away from mobile work. It just kind of worked out where obviously money's money, so I'll take the job, but this was a client that I had already done this job. So I was basically able to price it sight unseen and stuff. Like, I just looked what I charged last time and kept it around the same price range. And so I'm going to do it now. My setup's a little bit different. So I just have a generator. It says 6,500 watt generator. And I'm going to set up my Miller 175 to that. The only reason I'm doing that is because I've tried it before. I did it on another job, so I know it'll run the welder. I know sometimes running specific generators for welders, it doesn't always work, especially if they're not strong enough. But I've tried it, it worked. I have a little stick inverter welder that I may use just because it'd be quicker to set up. I don't have to unload everything. We'll see. It's literally 2 welds. The welds are about 1.5 inches, 2 inches long, and it's like a security bar. But anyways, it should be a pretty quick job. I just wanted to kind of reference. Now, I'm stepping away from mobile work for a few reasons, but really the largest reason is I'm far more profitable in shop. You know, I have a CNC plasma table, and if I'm running that, I'm making money, and I really never found too much joy going on sites. Like, I've done new builds and homes, welding beams and stuff, and like I've done it in the snow and the rain when you're getting shocked and wet, and it's not always fun. And like, I remember 2 years ago, I got offered a job for like a week or two, just basically a point and weld job. Like, they say, show up on site and we're going to keep telling you where to weld, and we have about a week, maybe 2 weeks of work on this one like custom house. And I did 2 days, and meanwhile so I was kind of subcontracting for another mobile welder, and he needed extra guys on site for this job. And meanwhile, my phone was ringing for the CNC plasma business. So, you know, it's a matter of opportunity costs and joy. Like, I really excel more at the CNC and design work and stuff, so that's where I'm focusing my business now. Like I said, this opportunity kind of just fell in my lap. I didn't want to leave this customer hanging, and I'm definitely comfortable with this kind of work. It's nothing crazy at all. I wanted to talk about, you know, what you need for mobile welding. Obviously, if you're welding for a company in a warehouse, or got hired on a job, or just out of school, you know, everybody wants to get their own rig and start billing clients and building a business. what do you really need is a common question. Everybody's looking up welder generators, and you're gonna have to spend like, you know, 4, 5, 6 grand minimum to get a welding machine. And how are you gonna haul it around? So you got to put it in a truck. Big expensive undertaking. But you know, just for reference, like this generator I'm using now, I picked up again after I had sold my welder generator just to do one mobile job, because most clients, I tell them like I really don't do mobile work anymore. And so I picked this generator up for $300 on Facebook Marketplace. The welder setup I'm using, same thing, like I got the welder, gas can, everything, Facebook Marketplace, under $1,000. This was a couple of years ago, and not really for mobile welding, but you can buy a capable welder for less than $1,000, whether it's new or used. You can get a small new welder for like $600-700, no problem, and perfectly capable for miscellaneous jobs. And to haul it around, you just need a vehicle, you know, like as long as you can get the generator in and out. If you have any vehicle, you can show up in an SUV, you can show up in a compact car, you can get a little hitch and put everything in a trailer if you want. But for mobile work, as long as you can run a machine on site, then the door is open to you. Now, obviously you're limited by your machine and your setup, and you know, this specific setup I'm doing today isn't necessarily something that I would be bidding houses, like going to houses and doing beams with and stuff. I'm literally just doing this for a food truck. But if you're in school or you're in a 9-to-5 job and you're able to set aside some money and get the basic requirements, little generator, little welder, you can go and start getting jobs. You can go to this is a food truck. You can go to every food truck, hey, you need any repairs? I'll charge this much an hour, or show me what you need repaired and I'll give you a price. And you can do that for restaurants, like inside of kitchens and stuff. If you're comfortable with stainless, you can do it at marinas if you're comfortable with aluminum and stainless. And any business where you see general metal structures, like most businesses have railings or loading dock guards and stuff. Like any business, grocery stores, all of these places have metal furnishings around, and it's very easy to, if you're going in your day-to-day life and you see a few things broken, or you see a base plate that rusted out at a railing at a grocery store, you just walk into the grocery store, you talk to the manager, you say, hey, like I noticed you have a few things broken or that need some repair. Are you interested in a quote? And some stores will say, no, like the corporation deals with that. We have internal maintenance or whatever. No problem. But if you have a little setup, people don't care what the setup is. They care if you can solve their problem. So if they have a few broken things and you say, yes, I can fix those broken things, it'll be this much, or it'll be about this much, and you can get work. And this is a good example. Like, again, I really don't focus on this type of work, but for say less than $2,000, you could be running a mobile welding operation. If you include the vehicle, like say you find a beater car or a beater truck for less than $2,000, and then welder generator for like $1,500, like less than $3,000, you're less than $3,000, maybe 4 tops if you really wanted to make sure you had a little bit more reliability, you're running a mobile welding business. Now, this job specifically, it's a $400 job, and ideally I'll be on site less than an hour, but you charge jobs accordingly. Like I spoke in a previous video, I'm charging this at a blocked out rate. It's going to be a couple hours from my house on site and back. So I say it's going to be half a day, $100 an hour mobile work, $400, easy money. Now, that's if everything goes well, but should be pretty good. So I'll stop talking for now. We'll get on site. I'll reset up the camera, and I'll show you these 2 welds we're going to do. Hopefully get in, get out, and get paid.
Okay, so this is the job site. This big yellow panel on the food truck is a flip-up awning, and we're making a security bar that goes over top of it so that it can't get broken in. Now I don't do haven't done much mobile work in a while, and I'm realizing I showed up with no extension cord. So obviously I pulled up as close as I could, just as a habit. For any mobile work, it's a good idea. But now I'm realizing, I can't even, my angle grinders can't even reach the food truck. So the generator's coming out. I was hoping I'd do the job with the generator in the car and the windows open, but we adapt. And so I'll bring it right beside the food truck and get her going and get right to it. Again, I haven't used this generator all that much, so I was running into a few issues here. Wasn't staying on. Got a little bit worried that we were going to run into some reliability issues, and then I realized I turned off the fuel line. So normally when you're driving with generators, there's a shut off for the fuel line just so you don't flood the engine. Once I discovered that, we're off to the races. So yeah, like I said, rule of thumb, getting on site for a mobile job, always good to get as close as you can to the actual workplace. And this is, on any scale setup, like even if you have really long leads or really long extension cords, etc., the closer you can get, the less amount of equipment and wires you're pulling through whatever space. So first step here is just hitting the specific spots with a wire wheel, just stripping the paint down to bare metal. And these are where I'm going to weld the 2 tabs that the security bar is going to go through. Now, the security bar is an angle iron with these 2 tabs that are going to be welded on. So I cut those on the plasma table, and just hooking up the welder to the generator now. A good trick, you'll see me as I get set up here, to weld something onto like a big product like this. Obviously there's no obvious area to put my welding ground clamp to this, so you can just clamp the piece that you're welding on, and that's what I'm going to do. Getting the gas hooked up here. So I'm going to clamp the actual tab that I need to weld to the ground clamp, and that will complete the arc, and then I can tack it in place. Alright, just about to be ready to tack it in place. When you're setting up on site, you realize just how many things there is to set up, plugging in stuff, turning on everything, opening the gas line. Like, a lot of this stuff you do in a shop, but you might do in the morning, and you don't have to do it any more times in the day. So it took me a little while to get the first tack on, but now that everything's set up, we'll get this in place. It's pretty easy. It's not too windy, but if you're welding with gas outside, just make sure your gas is on higher than normal setting if possible, and also try and shield it from the wind if it does get windy, just so you're getting decent and clean welds. So now I'm grabbing the bar, I'm just putting on the first tab, trying to line up where the next tab is going to go, and just dropped it there. Wasn't really working out, so I'm just going to take a measurement here and a measurement on the other side and try and line it up as best I can. Now the actual food truck isn't level to the ground, so there's no real rhyme or reason to this. As long as it looks decent enough, the main purpose is security. So I'm going to take a rough measurement and get the next one tacked in place. And that's the gist of this job. It's these 2 tabs. So once they're both tacked in place, I'm going to weld what I can while the awning's closed, and then I'll open up the awning just so I can get the narrow side there. The awning's about inch and a half thick, which so it's a pretty tight squeeze to get the welding done in there while it's closed. Here I'm doing a test fit, so this is the main concept if you didn't get it yet. So it's basically an angle iron that slides in front of this awning. Basically, they had a break-in where somebody pried open the latch in the middle of the panel, and this way they will be, have more stuff to fight. So that angle iron has 2 holes for a lock. One on right where I am right now. I'm just marking a place. I'm going to cut the angle right to size. and then there's another hole just on the edge of the tab where I first put the bar in. And so basically, if you were to put 2 locks on it, whichever lock, like even if, you know, somebody trying to break in was going to cut a lock, no matter what, they would have to cut both locks. And basically what the owners of this business were looking for is just a deterrent. Now, I did this exact bar system on the front of the food truck. There's 2 opening panels like this, and since doing that, they haven't had any issues with that. And I guess they kind of neglected this side, and it was never an issue in the past. But you know, the criminals will take the path of least resistance, so this was the one they got broken into, and that's why I'm here. So now I'm just getting these welds in, and like I said, I'm gonna have to open this up to really get access to both those tabs on both sides. So now I'm going to finish up the welding here, and we're gonna be wrapping up pretty quickly. There's not much to this job. Something like this, like obviously it's a business and I'm running a generator, so I showed up about an hour before they open. They were setting up, they had a few customers trickling in, but something to consider when you're planning mobile work. You always want to talk to the business owner. When do you have clients? When are you busy? When is it okay to work? You see they're setting up there, they just close the window. Obviously it's a little bit loud working with the generator, but you know, they need to get this done sometime, so you gotta be as accommodating as you can and work with them, and everybody would be pretty happy. Okay, so this is the last little bit of welding I have to do, and then because I'm using the MIG welder, it's actually pretty clean. There's going to be very little cleanup that I have to do. Just I'm going to hit it with a wire wheel, knock off some of the BBs, and then that'll be good enough for this. And now guys, if you made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you, and consider subscribing if you're liking this type of content. And hit me up in the comments below. What do you think of this security system? So basically the customer, it's not like they designed this or anything. They kind of just described their problem and they said, can you reinforce this, or can you come up with a solution? And you know, this is what I came up with. So it's basically this whole these 2 tabs that are welded to their food truck, and the bar that slides over their awning. Now, why it's an angle, it's just so I can get a nice hole in it, and it'll be easy to mount a padlock into it. You know, otherwise you could probably get by with a square tube or some kind of flat bar, but it might not be as accessible, you know, to put a padlock into it. So that's the idea there. But if you have any ideas on how you'd secure this better, or a different way of doing this job, hit me up in the comments, and happy to hear some other thoughts. But in general, it worked out well. Clients seem to be happy, and can't complain with that. And the last thing I'm doing here is I'm just putting on a cutoff disc on the grinder, and I'm going to cut that angle bar right to size. I just brought it to sight long just in case there's any issues. You know, you never know. Better to give yourself more room, and you know, just something I thought I'd do. I bought, you know, maybe about a foot extra, and decided I'd cut it on site in case there was any concerns there. So quick little cut, and then I rounded it off with a flap disc, and then I'm going to paint the tip that I just cut. Now these tabs are raw steel, and I stripped all the paint, so I'm going to go around the finished tabs that are welded on, and I'm just going to spray some gray primer. Now this is another thing where, again, the customer just asked for security bars. It's not like they specifically charged or asked for like me to paint their thing after or anything, but it's just kind of a courtesy thing you can do. If it's not something that's discussed and you're working on outdoor products, it's a good idea to consider or to plan to prime it at the very least. Now this is a small job, so it's really no problem. Like I just grabbed a can that I had at home before leaving, but even on bigger jobs, if it means you need to price more, I would recommend telling clients, like, so this price includes primed metal after the finish or primed and painted, just so that they're getting a finished product or a semi-finished product. And most welders, you know how it is, if you leave a project out in the rain for a couple times, you'll start to see that surface rust. And for customers that aren't familiar with metal, they can be disappointed, even though it's probably them that neglected like painting it or hiring the final contractor. So just account for that, put some primer on it. Now it's at least covered from the elements, and if they want to paint it yellow to touch up that area, then they can do that. So we wrapped up the job. Now we got to reload the car up. Obviously the generator is not really a one-man thing, but we'll struggle through it today. And like I said, in terms of mobile welding, this is hopefully a closed chapter in my business, at least at this time in my life. I don't hate the work, but it's just doesn't suit my skills, doesn't suit my setup. I have a lot of money invested in my in-shop stuff with a CNC plasma, and if I'm on site, it'll be for like installing finished products that I built in shop. So like signs or privacy screens, just installations where you show up with a screwdriver, maybe a concrete drill, but all stuff that's quick and easy and battery powered. It's kind of where I'm headed, and we'll see where that goes. So the actual footage I'm recording here is about 25 minutes on site, so pretty good time for this bill, and can't complain. And so just as we wrap this up, I really, I'm going to do one last plea for some feedback. Let me know. Obviously, this is a mix of in the car talking, a bit of a discussion. You get to see some of the work I'm doing, a bit of the breakdown of the cost. Like, it's really a mixed bag of content in this video. Let me know what you think. Do you want to see just all production work, or are the discussions a good time? Are you guys getting value from this? Let me know where your thoughts are. I'm building a list of what videos to do next, and I do appreciate the feedback, and I'm really trying to make this channel into something sustainable and growing. So I truly do appreciate any feedback. The comments have been great. I truly get excited every time people are tuning in and letting me know what they think, or giving me some feedback, asking questions. Always happy to answer, and we'll see where this goes. Can't ask for much more. It's already been pretty humbling, and hope you guys are liking this stuff. So just as we wrap up here, getting everything back in the car, I really just want to stress how little of a setup this took. So I have a generator, a welder, and an angle grinder. And that consists of every tool I used on this job. Measuring tape, can of paint, very basic stuff. And I was able to charge out this profitable mobile welding job. Maybe the one thing that obviously I had a big advantage of is I have the plasma table in the shop. So these tabs with the angle bracket cutout is a lot easier for me than somebody without kind of a CNC system. But you can get creative with a drill and cut off disc if you have to make some profile like those little tabs, or you can kind of adjust the build as needed. If you have to do it kind of like a square cutout instead of this angle shape and make the bars squares, you guys can figure this out, but really not so much involved in this build, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and pretty happy with where we're at there.
Okay, so that job's all wrapped up. I spent a total of half an hour on site. The actual recording of the site of the work was 25 minutes plus packing up and stuff. So that's $400 for 30 minutes of work. Now, obviously, I had to go meet the client the first time. That took like 10-15 minutes plus driving there. I fit it into my day and try and do other stuff when I'm driving around. And then I had to pick up material. I picked up material for that job and a few other jobs. And I had about 30 minutes to an hour of prep work in my shop. I just had to cut the end of that angle and weld a cap on it, and cut the little parts on the plasma for the angle to slide through, and then drill the holes so that the client can put locks. And I did a quick coat of paint. So all that, you know, about 30-40 minutes in shop. So, you know, the client sees 30 minutes, but, you know, it's like 3-4 hours of work, which is why the bill was $400. And that's, you know, the consequence of how I price my jobs. Like, I went and looked at it and I was like, this is definitely less than half a day of work. So you just price it out at half day of work, $100 an hour for mobile on-site welding. Like I said, setup pretty simple, just this 6,500 watt generator and the welder that I use in shop. Obviously a bit of work to pack that up and bring it in the car. Like I said, I don't do too much mobile work. I really don't tell people. Like, in general, I will tell people that I don't do it unless the job really makes sense or they want to pay some kind of premium, but I'll just refer them to other welders I know that are, you know, in their truck all the time. And anyway, so that's it for today. Pretty simple job, pretty good example of, if you want to make some money, just get the bare necessities, put it in your car and go talk to business owners. Everybody needs little repairs. Everybody needs little additions to stuff like that, especially, you know, businesses with kind of any kind of physical presence. So restaurants, stores, warehouses, any kind of the traditional brick and mortar businesses, there's stuff breaking and there's tons of metal in those businesses. Go seek them out. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit me up with a like, subscribe, and any suggestions, comments down below. I try to respond to all of them, and have a good one.